I'm Don Sherrill. I'm president of the MCA-I chapter of Atlanta. Hopefully this State of the Studios will be an annual event. I'd like to let a couple of words out about MCA-I. We are an international organization of media communications professionals. That group includes people that are producers, directors, media managers, writers, actors, technicians, and a few others. I'd like to thank American Intercontinental University for their gracious hospitality to let us host this event at this location. It wouldn't be able to do it without them. And in light of that, I'd like to present to you Jason Rogers, who is the program chair in media productions for AIU.
Thank you, Don. And on behalf of AIU and our campus president, Dr. Hisham Shaban, I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. Thank you so much for being here. At AIU, we are very proud of our media production department, and we love doing events like this. It's just a really wonderful opportunity, and thank you so much for letting us be part of this. We, in our media production department, are training, hopefully, the filmmakers of tomorrow. So it's really wonderful for me to get them in front of you and hear what you have to say, and we're just very excited to be able to take part in this tonight. So thank you very much, and thank you, MCA-I, for letting us work with you on this. And Don.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, and I would like to introduce to you now Don Glass, who is our president-elect of our Georgia chapter, and he'd like to come up and make a few, presentation, very briefly, a little bit of word here and there about our sponsors.
Thank you, Don. Yes, I'd like to recognize our sponsors. Our sponsors contribute financially to make an event like this possible. First on my list is the People Store. People Store is one of the largest talent agents in the Southeast. And Panasonic is also a national sponsor. And for those of you that like their new lines of equipment, we're actually shooting or videotaping this tonight on the AWHE, the robotic camera, two of them positioned at the back of the room. Thank you, Panasonic. Additionally, we have Stephen Rothschild with us tonight. Steve is a sponsor. Steve's group is gettaxcredits.com. And everybody knows Steve. And finally, Tech Rentals provided the production equipment. Thank you, Tech Rentals. Before I go on, I'd like to recognize the guys that made this possible. Bill Lee, Don Sherrill, Steve Paniotto, Karen Glass did the logo, David Knope worked hard to make it happen, and Joe Gora, Agora TV, is providing production. Okay, thank you. And our moderator tonight is John Atwood. John is a local actor and writer who had the wisdom to emigrate from Los Angeles to Atlanta in 1994, a man ahead of his time. After 35 years in the business, John's been around the world in more training films. John's work can be seen around the world in more training films, product introductions, and commercials than he cares to count. Through the magic of Netflix, you might catch a glimpse of him in films like 3 Can Play the Game, Killers, Scary Movie 5, and due to be released in November, Anchorman 2. Ladies and gentlemen, John Atwood.
And good evening to all of you. Welcome. It's nice to see so many people here. By the way, for those of you standing in the back, if you really want to sit down, there are chairs available in the room where the food was. All you have to do is follow all the video cabling around to that room to find it. We're having video projected on the screen there, so if you really don't want to stand, you don't have to, but if you want to make it look like an overflow crowd, that's just great. So thank you for being here tonight. It really is nice to see all of you here. And it is extremely nice to see this august panel of experts that we have here this evening. And how we want to run this tonight is I'll briefly introduce everybody. Then everyone gets 5 minutes or so to present their business to us and tell us what they do well and where they hope it will go. So with that, let me start by introducing the people over here, starting on your left at the far end. Norman Bielowitz. You headed the Georgia Film Commission in the 80s and 90s, so you're a veteran of this marketplace. You've been a location manager, art director, advisor on a whole bunch of features, and now he's here with us tonight representing Jacoby Development, which, by the way, if you haven't heard about this, they have big plans. They want to create the Atlanta Media Campus that will house the largest film and television media complex outside of California. It will have, the master plan is saying that it will include media production studios, high-tech office space, higher ed and research facilities, multifamily and student housing, supportive retail, and an on-site hotel. All right, and sitting next to him is Tyler Edgerkin. Now, Tyler, he's one of the partners behind the Mailing Avenue Stageworks, which is the home for shows like Las Vegas and Necessary Roughness. Heard of those? Starting with 85,000 square feet just south of Grant Park in 2012. They have been leased continuously ever since then, so things seem to be going very well. And next to him, representing Mediant Studios, founder and CEO Manu Kumaran. Now, Manu Kumaran is the CEO, founder of Mediant Studios, which broke ground just this fall on a studio complex out in Savannah, Georgia. Now, he quite literally grew up in the film industry, his father being director-producer K.P. Kumaran. And so far, he has 19 feature films to his credit. And from Savannah, he's aiming squarely at entertaining the international marketplace. Manu Kumaran. And next to him is Carlton Holt, who is here representing the North Atlanta Film Studio. Now, Carlton is the founder of Granite Digital, which is the parent company, if I got this correct, parent company of North Atlanta Film Studio, which is out on Cobb Parkway in near Marietta. And next to him is none other than Brian Cooper, VP of Operations for Pinewood Atlanta Studios down in Fayetteville. Opening in 2014, they wanted to be a one-stop shop with 5 sound stages totaling 100,000 square feet and 300,000 square feet of office and workshop space. Plus, they bring the storied history of Pinewood Studios to the area. In 2008, Brian opened the Atlanta branch of Paschal Lighting, and he grew that business from 2 employees to 22 people. I think he knows what he's doing. So anyway, welcome. And next to him is Scott Tiglar, who is president of Raleigh Riverwood Studios and Sonoya Studios, Sonoya Enterprises. This is the company that's responsible for the development of historic Sonoya, Georgia, which has become a virtual backlot, if you've ever been down there, to more than 25 film and television productions. And he is one of the people who is responsible for securing Georgia's production tax incentives, and he's recently joined the board of the Georgia Tourism Foundation as well. And next to him, Chris Bagwell from EUE Screen Gems down in Lakewood, Atlanta. He launched EUE Screen Gems in 2010 and so far has successfully managed production infrastructure for the likes of BET Networks, USA Network, Lifetime, 20th Century Fox, and Paramount, just to do a little name dropping here. He's got a long and successful history in the production industry, which I'm sure he attributes to his BA in philosophy from Cornell. Now, moving over here and assuming the position over there is Del Mills, who is here representing Starland Studios. And you're all going, who? Well, Starland Studios, located in Bogart, Georgia, which is on the way to Athens, they opened just last month. So this is brand new, an up-and-coming business. Del is a graduate of Savannah College Art and Design and worked as a freelancer for a while in New York before having the wisdom to come back to Georgia and do some really creative stuff here. All right, and then we have Dale Weller, Chief Operations Officer for Triple Horse Studios in Covington, Georgia. Now, Dale previously was with FamilyNet Television and Radio, and in San Francisco, he founded Christianity.com and StarWire.com, and then moved to Atlanta to help here with Triple Horse. And then, Steve Minch. Glad to have you here. From Turner Studios. Steve's worked 11 years with Feature Systems Incorporated in New York, and now in Atlanta, he's in his 8th year as Director of Studio and Location Operations for Turner Studios and the Director of Strategic Production Partnerships for Turner Broadcasting as well. And in his spare time, he comes to meetings like this. And Lee Cuthbert apparently is stuck in traffic somewhere. I'll just say that she's one of 2 location specialists who's on the 5-person Georgia Film, Music, and Digital Entertainment Division of the Georgia Economic Development Department. So they have to have larger than average business cards to get all that on there. Anyway, the job of that office is to attract new entertainment business investment into the state, and they seem to have been fairly successful on that count. As a location specialist, Ms. Cuthbert can probably tell you more about your own neighborhood than you care to know. All right, having said that, these are our panelists. Thank you.
I'm representing Jacoby Development, Jim Jacoby. He's a developer here in Atlanta. Everybody know what Atlantic Station is? Atlantic Station is a development that you'll see off of 7585 in Midtown Atlanta. You'll see big towers over there and theaters and restaurants and condominiums. That was one of Jim's developments. It was the first green certified development in the country of that scale. Jim's also in the process of doing the new Porsche plant, which is down in Hapeville at the airport. It was the site of the old Ford plant, which he purchased and partnered with Porsche to put up their new North American headquarters. He's also currently involved with NASCAR. He's doing a 100-acre development in Daytona, which is a really kind of a work entertainment site for NASCAR. He's very involved with the folks at NASCAR on that project, and that's one of his other ones. Because we're on the north side, I hope most of you know where the old Western Electric plant is at Jimmy Carter that you would see as you were going north on I-85. It's OFS now. It's a huge industrial plant that was originally built by Western Electric. It housed Bell Labs. It also had one of the largest wire drawing plants in the country. Then it got into the fiber business, was finally bought by a Japanese company called OFS. It is a large facility. It's 170 acres. There's right at 4 million square feet under roof there. Jim has been looking at this property for 7 years. He is very, very interested in the film business, always believed it could be a studio. Well, he currently has it under contract and expects to execute that contract and to purchase the property in the first quarter of 2014. We're literally in the process of letting contracts and doing final design decisions right now for the first phase of the development, which will be not unlike Atlantic Station in that it will be a multi-use development with at its core the film business, sound stages and studios, as well as all the support facilities that filmmakers need. Our first phase will put right at 1 million square feet under roof. It's not being built from the ground up. We are renovating and rehabbing existing structures. We will, once we're finished with this first phase, we'll move into a second phase. It will have, I think as was described, educational components, research components, retail components attached to it. Trust me, 170 acres is a lot of land. You got to come up with a lot of bright ideas to make it work. That's Jim's strength. He is very good at doing these kind of mixed use, new age, new ideas complexes. It also will be a green studio. We are working very hard to do things like solar paneling, rehab of materials wherever we can. We're going to be doing recycled and reclaimed water systems on it. We're using chilled watered systems for our air conditioning. Not just because he's interested in the environment, which he is very interested in. He does a lot of ocean research and oceanographic kinds of projects with SeaWorld down in Florida. Also, he has worked in the past with Jacques Cousteau and those folks. But we also have gotten a message back from filmmakers and the studio systems in Los Angeles that they are very interested in pursuing the idea of working in green environments. So that's going to be one of the hallmarks of what we're going to do there. We currently are working with Fast and Furious 7, which is filming on the property. They've got about 400,000 square feet that they're using right now as temporary stages. It's really just an exotic warehouse form at this point. And we literally have people calling us every day to see about availability. We think that it's going to be a good project. We think that it's going to be healthy for the county, for the city, for the state, for everybody involved in it. And I think that in a year, you're going to be amazed at what's going to be accomplished out at this site. It will change that segment of South Gwinnett County, there's no question. I'm down to a minute. I'll give up my last minute.
I'm Tyler Edgerton with Mailing Avenue Stageworks. Like he mentioned that we just started this project actually a year ago. We are just south of the zoo, so we're off Boulevard, off I-20, just south of the zoo, right in town, very close to downtown and things like that. The important thing for us is that we're real estate guys that did commercial real estate in town, and this is really John Relay's brainchild. John's represented probably 30 to 40 different productions throughout the city and was involved with Screen Gems when they leased their space. And John came and said, this is the perfect building that's available. And so we were able to acquire it last summer. Actually Las Vegas signed the lease before we'd closed on the building. And then Las Vegas was in there for about 6 months. A lot of people from here have worked as extras and different things. It's coming out November 1st. And then while we had Las Vegas in the building, Necessary Roughness came in and leased it. So when Las Vegas struck their set and moved out, Necessary Roughness moved in the very next day. So there's really been no downtime since the day we acquired the building, and it's still leased to Necessary Roughness as we speak. The key thing for this building, and there's flyers over there that people can take, and also a floor plan, is that it's almost laid out like you would. It was a design for an industrial tenant that did marketing, but it would be almost laid out perfectly, just by luck, for a movie production. It has executive offices on the left, 20,000 feet between the executive offices and the production offices. It has flex space, which is used very often for catering, a mill shop that has double doors that roll right into the stage, and the stage is about just under 40,000 feet, and we created a column-free area in the stage. The stage also has another 7,000 feet, which works perfectly for extras and for extra holding and things like that. And then there's base camp over on the right, and there's also extra parking adjacent to it that we were able to lease. So it's almost dumb luck that the property had all these different pieces and was available down by the zoo, and it's very private. So what we did with the building is we went in and took out sets of columns to create an 80 by 120 column-free area. It's a 30-foot clear concrete building in our stage, and we took out the columns that got us to as big of column-free space as we could possibly make without affecting the structural integrity of the building. This is an example of the first set. So the size of the building allows for a two-story set and also a stage below it. So this was built up so that they could shoot out the window, and they had a backdrop of Las Vegas. This is actually from the Las Vegas set. It also shows you, and we'll get back to it at the end, getting back to Norm's comment on green, the amount of wood that goes into this set building and the amount of labor that it takes in terms of jobs and other things to build these sets is phenomenal. This is an example of a finished set that was in the building. This shows the height that the building allows. It's a two-story set. This is an office space for Necessary Roughness for their new season. And so this went in after the Las Vegas set was completely cleared out. Construction started again, and then this set was built inside the building, and it's currently in there today. A key component for us going forward and for the industry, I think, is recycling the wood, and you see the amount of wood, and Adam Deck is in here somewhere in the back from Life Cycle Building Center. So we worked with Life Cycle on the set strike of this, and it was a last-minute idea. We had just met Adam, and we were able to, he came and we saved around 21 tons of wood. So his goal is to keep things from going into the dumpster, divert it from the dumpster, and then find local charities, or he has basically a store that'll sell you the items back at a very discounted price. So we want him to be as sort of the clearinghouse where when sets are getting struck, people are calling him before it gets put in the dumpster, and then also for local filmmakers and people in school or theater groups, whoever, know to go there to get cheap materials. And so, and he's working on some new things that have real-time lists of what's available and things like that. So that's one of the things going forward, I think, with the industry is figuring out how to save some of the materials and things as the sets are struck. That's about all we have. Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. We're very, very happy to be here. We're a bit different from everybody else here in the sense that we're not really a studio that's being built with the primary objective of renting it out. We are a group of filmmakers who fundamentally got tired of the way the business is run and decided to change it. So one of the fundamental ways we found the business drifting away from the filmmaker and into the hands of multiple interests is the fact that there isn't a lot of drama being made in film, if you look at it. So all of this caused us to say there must be a better way of doing things, and that's our project. Our project is a studio that's being built for us to make films. That's really the play here. It is going to offer permanent employment. It's going to offer residential accommodation to people who work there. So it's something in the lines of the modern technology company like Google or Yahoo, where you have the Googleplex, the Yahoo complex, where people live and work on the same campus. We're going to have end-to-end post-production. And we have a gaming team that's being set up as we speak. So here is a content creation company extending itself into owning all the elements of the vertical. That's really what we're doing. So it's a fully set up facility that has sound stages, that has all the production equipment that you need, post-production, and living quarters for the employees. I'll request Jason to play a short video, and I'm happy to take questions afterwards. Thank you.
Any independent filmmakers in the room? There we go. I'm your guy. I'm that bridge between these big guys and where some of you might be today. My facility is 12,500 square feet in its entirety, about 7,500 square feet of soundstage, which includes a nice mill space and good offices. So for the independent filmmaker, for the smaller guys, we're a great stepping stone between working 100% on location and trying to do some stuff in studio and make it affordable and make it interesting. Some of the things that they talked about, maybe some talking about your differentiators a little bit. And some of our differentiators are, we're not downtown, we're not really remote, we're right out in Marietta. And for those of you who've been on small film sets where you don't have massive resources and you need something from Home Depot quickly, there's 4 of those within 3 miles of our facility. Downtown Marietta Square is right down the street. There are clothing stores, there are decorator stores, so we're really, really great proximity to a lot of the things that small filmmakers need to make things happen. I heard somebody laughing at me earlier. They said, 12,500 feet. I think Tyler Perry's office is just a little bigger than that. So anyway, Tyler, if you're here, sorry. But we're a production company also. About a third of the year we use our studio for our own productions, and then it is available for third-party productions. So we do, some of our revenue stream is based on third-party productions. We frequently end up helping on the production there because we're good, capable producers. But one of the things that everybody agreed about this evening on this panel of super big guys, and here I am, was that there's a strong need for education and a strong need to help grow people in practical knowledge. And facilities like this are fantastic. And we have a small, modest little film school that we do in January, February, typically slow production months for us, that helps people get some practical hands-on knowledge out there so that they can kind of work their way through the paces and maybe, ultimately end up in a full-time in the film business. So that's my story. Thanks, guys.
I'm Brian with Pinewood Studios. I'm glad that I didn't have to go after that video because I don't have any kind of visual aids as well. We've got a little project going down in Fayette County. It's really exciting. We've got 100,000 square feet of stage that are being built as we speak. This morning at 9 o'clock, we raised our last piece of truss and had a topping out ceremony, which I'd learned what it was, and we put flags up. Our counterparts in the UK laughed and said that it's probably the first time that the Union Jack has been flown above American soil in quite a while, because we actually put the American flag and the Union Jack up to show our partnership with Pinewood in the UK. We are going to be open in January with the 100,000 square feet. We've got 90,000 square feet of mills, and currently we have around 40 vendors from all over the country that are coming in to be a part. Ultimately, we want to have a one-stop shop where you can come in as you can in Pinewood in the UK with a script, and you can leave with a finished product. We're putting in 20 gigs of network, which I have no idea how big that is. I know that I've got 24 megs at my house, so I know that 20 gigs is quite a bit so that we can handle post-production down the road. When we got into the design of this project and where we were going to be, Pinewood looked in Georgia for 10 years, or they looked in the U.S. for 10 years, and they looked in Georgia for 3 years, and then they settled on Fayette County. It's actually an interesting story. They were looking at some area at an airport. The gentleman from England said, "Thank you, but we'll never build a soundstage next to an airport." And literally on the way back to the airport, someone from our Economic Development Authority in Fayette County said, "Hey, let's look at this other piece of property." And there we are. We've got 288 acres that we're building on right now. We have contracts on an additional 400 acres. So we're going to be around between 700 and 800 acres when we're done. Our build out, we don't plan to stop until 2017. So we're going to be going for a while. In the panel, we were talking earlier about the need for education and putting Georgia people to work. Well, it's a testimony to this incentive that we can have a project like we've got going in Fayette County, and every day I've got 200 to 300 people that are Georgia people that are working on the construction side. So it doesn't just take into account the people that are in the industry. Think about all the people that these gentlemen up here have put to work just because of the business coming here. We have signed our first client, which is coming in January, and I'm not at liberty to say who it is, but it's very exciting to us. And I think it's going to be very exciting to the community, the film community. Education is a portion that we are going to key on. We actually bought a school, so we have a school right next to the facility. And down the road, we plan on having a facility where we are training the tradespeople, the carpenters, the grips, the electrics, and then going up into the more, the filmmakers, as I guess you would say, the people that are a lot more creative and intelligent than I am. But we are honored to be a part of this. I've got some old friends and some new friends on this panel, and I'll be around for questions.
Is there a clicker? Hi, my name's Scott Tigelaar. I'm president of Riverwood Studios, which does business as Raleigh Studios Atlanta. We're affiliated with Raleigh Studios in Hollywood. We're owned independently, but we operate under their brand. Built in 1989, so we're one of the oldest ones up here, I think, and have seen good times and bad in the state of Georgia in the film industry, and happy to report that we're in the best times ever for this industry, thanks to a tax incentive. I'll keep it brief, but this was 2005. We're pretty much selling tickets for hunting with a baseball bat. A lot of deer down there. We're on 120 acres. We have a small studio campus. We have 4 sound stages and an office complex, hair, makeup, wardrobe, and a mill. But lots of on-site shooting locations and a lot of variety there. And you could literally hunt with a baseball bat if you wanted to back then. Today, the campus has changed significantly. You can see a prison on the backside of our property there. Home of the Walking Dead, yes. So we have The Walking Dead has taken over our entire facility, and we're now looking at doubling the size of our studio campus right adjacent to that. So it's good times in the film industry. This is the little town that they mentioned. It's adjacent to our studio. It's been the home of 25 different film and TV projects that have used it as a backdrop. And that was it in 2005. There was probably 5 or 6 businesses on Main Street at the time. That was a busy day in Sonoy right there with a dozen cars. This is Sonoy today. This was our annual classic car show. There was 300 classic cars in that show and 5,000 people that came to that. There are now 50 businesses, so we went from 5 or 6 to 50. We have a waiting list for retail space and office space, and we get midtown rents in Sonoy, Georgia, which has the commercial realtors scratching their heads. It's amazing. It's a little town like Mayberry. It was actually used as the set for Walking Dead, one of their main sets for the town of Woodbury in season 3. And over 30 shooting days, they had Main Street completely shut down and walled off. And business was up 30% on the days that Main Street was shut down. So I don't know what that says, but film industry is good to this little town. Yeah, we've bought up most of the vacant land in town, and we're adding infill development. And so the 2 biggest buildings in the center of town are new construction. We've renovated a number of buildings as well that we're about to fall in. We've really just changed this town significantly in a very short period of time, and it's interesting to note that this has happened since basically 2007, and that has been the toughest economic time that any of us have ever seen. And in a real estate play, we've transformed a town. Now, not all of that is attributable directly to the film business, but it sure throws gasoline on a development when you add something like the film industry to it, and especially something like The Walking Dead. We now get people from all over the world coming to visit this little town. So pretty significant impact there, and we're looking forward to all of these newcomers to the market. I think there's enough business here for everybody, and we just want to preserve this tax credit more than anything else because it's what's got the business here, it's what'll keep the business here, and without it, we're going to go back to hunting, and I don't want to do that. So thank you very much.
I'm Chris Bagwell with EUE Screen Gems Studios. I think one indication of how things have changed is that a year ago this would have been Scott, me, and Steve Mensch, pretty much. So we're glad to have the company now, and it's exciting time in the business, as Scott mentioned. Let me get out of my own way here. So we, EUE Screen Gems, we're a company that's, our founder has been in the studio business for almost over 50 years, running studios in New York City. We have a studio lot in Wilmington, North Carolina, with 10 stages there. And we started in Atlanta in 2010 at the old Lakewood Fairgrounds. Who's ever been out to the fairgrounds? Away from the speaker. Who's been there? Who was there when it was a fairgrounds? Okay, there you go. All right. And then who was there when it was movie studio? Okay, there we go. Antiques market? There we go. All right. And now we're in another phase. So we love having an old property, really historic property, 100 years old in 2 years, and really taking it back to its entertainment roots, which is where it started back in the teens. So I'm going to take a little different approach here instead of throwing numbers at you because mine don't have as many zeros after theirs do, as theirs do. and just show you kind of what we've done out there with the property real quick. Oh, I'm a little large on this slide. Okay, so this is us, and that's Atlanta in the same picture. So, real close. Sorry, Brian. Very close to downtown, 4 miles from downtown, or 4 or 5 miles from downtown, and 6 miles from Hartsfield Airport, and right in between as well. So we love our location, and it makes a big difference to the productions to not be sitting in traffic all day long. So let's go on to the next slide. Yeah, see 33 measly acres. Keep going here. We'll go quickly through these times. We have 40,000 feet of production office space and plenty of space for mills and everything else as well. We'll go quickly here. I want to get to the pictures. So these are the office spaces below the building. That building was built in 1940. 10 sound stages that we have today, 150,000 square feet. Let's jump ahead. We can show you one of those. This was stage 5. It's now stage 7 and 8, and 37,000 square feet. We started in there. We booked this also before it opened with Necessary Roughness, and we had Flight, the Denzel Washington movie with Paramount last year. The same time we had the Ben Stiller movie, The Watch, with Neighborhood Watch. The Watch. Did anyone see that? Okay. All right. See Flight. Flight's worth seeing. And largely, we're a block off 75, 85, right before the split above the airport there. The folks love it for parking because it can jump on the highway and go both directions, all 4 directions real quickly. This is in the late 1800s. This is the first amusement at Lakewood Fairgrounds. This is a water slide into the lake. This is like 1890. And I think people like wrap themselves in burlap and things like that. This is an old concession stand during the fairground days here. That new stage you saw is right where the left-hand metal shed was. Let's keep going. This is one of my favorite slides of the history at Lakewood. This is during World War II, and you can see war relief down here at the bottom. 15-cent special lunch. I don't know how much the regular lunch was. And you can see the buildings are these beautiful Mission Revival architecture, and all the glass in the windows, both levels of glass. That's kind of long gone, long before we got there. But we've renovated these old buildings and turned them into stages, and then we built 3 new big stages as well. Let's keep going. Guess what? There used to be a trolley car from downtown out to the neighborhood, and now we're doing that again, right? So they actually took out the trolley, which was kind of a shame. This is also one of my favorites. This is a wing walker over the site. That's the old Greyhound roller coaster. Anybody ride that? And the old Bill Lee. Bill, you're showing your age now. There you go. That's right. It blown up at the end of Smokey and the Bandit 2. Both Smokey and the Bandit movies made partially at Lakewood. And the guy who owned the roller coaster had been condemned, and he was faced with having to actually figure out how to get rid of it, and along came Hal Needham and bought it and tore it down. So you can see kind of the history there. This is a little more color version of that a little bit later on with the buildings in the background. Let's keep going. There it is, coming down at the end of Smokey and the Bandit 2. And this is about the condition that we found it in, although the coaster's still there, but it didn't look much different than that. Let's just keep going. Firehouse Bar and Grill, which I think Ed Spivey will admit was much more bar than grill in the days of the movie studio and the antiques market. And this is when we got there. Had been abandoned for 5 years completely. Had been kind of a failed multi-use, they wanted to do a multi-use development owned by the city, with 33 acres owned by the city. So we have a 50-year lease. I don't think I'll be there at the end of it. And this is kind of what we inherited. And when they hired me and I drove up from the airport one afternoon, and I was looking at that and I thought, what the hell have these guys gotten themselves into? So let's keep going. Bill, how are we doing on time? 1 minute, okay. Minus 1 minute probably. So that's building 1, which is now 2 sound stages, interestingly, with all these different colored tops and everything else. And this is a BET shoot outside of building 2, just recently. Oh, we saw that already, didn't we? Sorry about that. What? I think I'm done. So this is when we just finished the place and opened it, and Brian, see background? See the downtown in the background back there? Uh, all right, and is that it? That's it. So thank you.
I'm Dale Mills, and I went to the University of Georgia. I really liked it so much that I never left. I got a degree in journalism and radio, TV, film, and I just couldn't leave Athens. I worked in radio for a while, and then I wandered off into real estate thinking I could make a few bucks to get back in the business. As a realtor, I became a film location scout, and this is the biggest find I've ever come across. It doesn't have as big as zeros as some of the guys have, but in the middle of July, I was sitting down with a good friend 40 years ago at Strickland's restaurant. You might know where Strickland's is? One or two. And he had a building that had been empty for 4 years. It had been an electronics wholesale warehouse and service center. And I asked him if he'd let me try to rent it for him. And he asked what I would do. And I said, well, I can't tell you until you agree to back me up. And he said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I think I can make it into a movie studio. So we got rolling with it, and we called it Starland Studios. I'll tell you why we call it that sometime in private. But we are 42,000 square feet, and we've got 11,000 feet of very plush office space up front that you'll see. There's, as you know, the tax incentives. And we are a little bit out from from Atlanta, and I certainly missed the traffic. I mean, tonight was just a good, I got a chance to see all the new tail lights, you know, with all the little extra dots on them for a long time, why it made me a little late. But this is the beginning of our entrance. It's a classic Georgia red clay design structure to have that colonial look. It has about 11,200 square feet of plush office space. Has a couple of, we call that limousine alley. It's in the back, so you know the limos can pull in the back, and we've got a back door so you can get in without paparazzi bothering you. This is the kind of offices we have up front that are kind of plush. We have an executive conference room that's pretty comfortable, we feel like. We have the studio hound laying on the floor if you didn't see him. But absolutely. He's actually going to be in the first thing we're shooting. This is kind of it's a set. Every room you walk into, you think this is a set. I mean, it's like, how else can you can't sit in there and use it. It's got to be used for Neil Flint as a lawyer trying to explain how you can get more money if you use his law office. We feel like we've got an opportunity to use this for a number of commercials or different advantages. Got some small studios that are climate controlled in that building for video and recording, and we have a photography studio in the other end. Yeah, there's the Hound again. That's Otto, and he will be starring in a screenplay that we're writing, and he has been in a number of college movies already. He does have a bit of a character that will be kind of interesting, and that's our back door that goes down to our what we call Studio Z, which is the 42,000 square foot space. This is about a fifth of the space that we've cleaned so far, and we are working on it. We've got two-story office areas in the corner that we have green screens, the wrong color, and we have some green screen, the right color paint on a couple of other places. And this is one of the smaller climate control rooms in that Studio Z. I went back upstairs to the front. And we've got that listed as our photo studio, and we have some product shots. Everybody wanted to eat the Chex Mix, so we passed that around. This is just some other examples of what we've got available. There's probably more show and glitz to the front building, but the back is where all the muscle is. It has 8 loading docks. It has a front loading area that you can drive in with an 18-foot overhead, which I feel like will help facilitate faster, easier flow, thanks to a friend of mine in the back that pointed out that, Mr. Ginn, I think, pointed out that you need to have a nice quick flow to unload quickly and get out. So I noticed our arrangement is less than 40 steps from the back dock to unload everything, and you can move the crews in and out very quickly. We're not that far, even though it may look like it. We're only 65 minutes from the airport. We like for you to be thinking about us as we go, because we could use some business. And we have some interesting space. We've got about 7 more acres outside of this, plus another 40 acres about a mile from there that has water and sewer that we can develop. You kind of see, if you know Athens, that's the corner where the Pepsi plant is. We're right behind the Pepsi plant. And we're 35 miles from Lawrenceville and not far from the main part of Atlanta. We'd like for you to consider the benefits of working in Athens and the University of Georgia. There's a lot of talent and a very creative crew down there that some of them are fairly intelligent. And we would like for you to be sure and come and see us. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dale Weller from Triple Horse Studios, Atlanta. I want to thank everybody for putting on this event tonight. It's fantastic. Triple Horse Studios came about 6 months ago when the city of Covington, real estate developer, Technology Park Atlanta, and Triple Horse got together and thought this is something we need to do. The city of Covington has been in the sort of business for a while, let's say. They actually have trademarked the title Hollywood of the South, and they really have a heritage of production. Since 1979, they've had 54 films shot there that they know of, and 3 major television series, including Dukes of Hazzard, Heat of the Night, and Vampire Diaries. In fact, their website that they just launched is so driven for this industry, right in the middle, on location, specially built for location managers to find the best place to shoot. So we really have the community behind us, so we're very happy about that. TPA is a development group that about 20 years ago bought some farmland up near Alpharetta, and today it's Johns Creek. So they know what they're doing as far as building, and they have their act together. Right now they're building something called Stanton Springs, which is the largest development in Georgia right now. Triple Horse started about 20 years ago when Carl Horseman, our owner, left Turner and started a production company. This is our atrium, boardroom, creative room, our small stage, equipment. We have a full post facility. We have a composite facility where we composite, obviously. Color correction, color grading on luster, so we have that. We have a full 5:1 surround mix-to-pick stage and design suites. We have a 100-seat 4K THX dubbing stage. You kind of see it there. So we've kind of grown quite a bit in the last few years. Now, about 3 years ago, we all got together and said, you know what, all we've done in the past is commercials. We need to focus on film. And so we kind of changed the focus of the entire company and went towards film. In that time, we've rented our equipment to different small productions, not big productions, but small productions in Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama, things like that. Special effects we've rented out. And then we started focusing on films and working with other people in the area. And we've had, these are the ones we're partners of right now. Moses Way, Six Strings, Real Love, Blood Brothers, The Chosen. Those are ones that hopefully are coming out shortly and we're a part of. And then we finished Laughing at the Moon and Stand Your Ground last year. Stand Your Ground is having their premiere tonight. That's why Carl's not here. And it will be in limited release theatrically in January 17th. So we're pretty excited about that. Now, as far as our stage and our whole facility that we're building, we're on 160 acres, about 2 miles from the building you just saw. And we are building 5 stages, 100,000 square foot, mill space, about 100,000 with support, and 60,000 square foot of office space. So that's who we are, and that's where we came from. Thank you.
I'm Steve Mensch with Turner Studios, and normally when people come for a tour, I ask them to take 2 hours to plan to see the entire facility. So when Don said you have 6 minutes to talk about Turner Studios, I thought it's not the 10,000-foot view, it's the 10,000-mile view that we'll be showing. So Turner Studios was built back in, arguably you can say when Ted launched the Superstation, Turner Production was started. But officially Turner Studios broke ground in 2000. And then we had our expansion in 2005, and year to date, we're at about 350,000 square feet total in our facility. Some statistics. In addition to the 6 stages that we have, they're all purpose-built television studios. Effectively infinite air, infinite power. We do shows with 300 in an audience, 600 lights, and I can keep it at 65 degrees. We've had talent that require incredible, you know the show. But it's not particularly about our stages. The stages are 60,000 square feet in total. So the other 350,000 square feet are dedicated to production. We've got 95 post-production suites. So you think about that, 95 post-production suites. I've got 60 animators and visual effects artists on staff. And that's probably one of the key points is that whereas many other studios will have crew come and go, I've got 380 full-time employees working here. And what we've been able to do is attract talent from Los Angeles and New York because they're tired of living in the rat race. They've got their credits, they're set up, and they decide to move to Georgia. And now that the incentive's in place, there's a lot of work here. There's a lot of options. It used to be, well, if it doesn't work out at Turner, what do I do? Well, now there's a lot more choices. I asked one of our editors, can you give me a quick sizzle reel? And so he wanted to touch on all of the different disciplines that we have. And so these are 10-frame cuts. So if any of you are prone to seizures, you do not want to watch. I warn you not to watch it. These are the disciplines. Sound design, music composition. I don't need to read these to you. One interesting thing is our music library. We have 2 million tracks of music that are on our server. They can be searched from any workstation in the facility. And if you can't find what you need on the 2 million, in the 2 million cuts, then we have a composer on staff with his own studio to make and write the music. So if it doesn't make sense from a royalty or rights position, we can design and compose the music. Talked about the production facility and the visual effects. So let's just go to the next slide. And those of you I said who have epileptic issues, hang on. From a scale size, last year we generated over 200,000 hours of content. For those who are really quick at math, that's 26.3 years of contiguous information. It's a factory. When you look at the number, part of it is the technology. We've moved from a tape environment to a fully digital environment. That's required a huge change in infrastructure. So in last year, there were 7 million routes done in the facility. Again, those who do good at math, that's 16 routes per second. Many of those are salvoed, but the ability to move information around the building from the stage through the CCUs up to the control rooms, into the edit suites, all of that's done electronically. We have a 10 petabyte server, so think of 10,000 hard drives all working together. And that we fill every year, so we have to decide what we keep and what we don't keep on the server after a year. But to summarize and to agree with everyone here, the incentive has been great. It has brought in so much additional infrastructure. It's allowed our company to be able to hire even better talent, have more work. It's brought shows like The Hero that normally would not have come and done their season finale in Atlanta. They came, they did it. We had a live studio audience. It went perfectly. Would we have been as confident in doing that show if we hadn't done 300 shows with Monique and BET that were here because of the incentive? Not sure. But after doing that, no problem. We're used to do it. So we're absolutely in support of the incentive, and I appreciate MCA-I for putting this on. And thank you.
Thank you. I guess I'm here to talk about the incentive. I'm with the State Film Office. We're part of the Georgia Department of Economic Development. And we just, the other day, did some calculating and are finally ready to release our fiscal year 13 numbers. The economic impact from the film and television business in that fiscal year was $3.3 billion. And it had been, it's pretty awesome. It had been significantly lower than that, and I'm just going to click to a few frames here. This is fiscal year 12, 333 productions, direct spend in the state, $879 million. The economic impact at that time was $3.1 billion. It goes up every year. I'm a location specialist, and I get to drive around folks from LA and New York who, less than they used to, but still do some grumbling about not being able to sleep in their own beds because we have this great incentive program. And I always tell them, blame Canada. It's not our fault. And this is the way that it works. Canada passed its production incentives in 1997. And our number in Georgia before that was an economic impact of $247 million. They passed their incentive. We drop to $176 million. We build up a little bit, we build up a little bit. Louisiana passes a tax incentive in 2002. We drop in Georgia in 1 year from $267 million in economic impact to $99 million. So in 2005, the first version of our film and television tax incentive went into effect. And in 1 year, we went from $276 million in economic impact to $474 million. It was kind of a complicated plan. It was tiered based on where you were and some other things that made it kind of hard to navigate. So in 2008, this version of our incentive program went into effect. It's House Bill 1100. It's pretty straightforward. It's a base amount of 20% of what you spend in Georgia if you spend at least $500,000. And if you use the Georgia Peach promotional element, you can change that to 30%. And that's of what you spend in Georgia. It includes paying your crew, whether or not they're Georgians, and basically most of the money you spend here, as long as you're booking your travel through a Georgia travel company, your insurance through a Georgia insurance company. There are some caveats that we make sure it's a local spend. So we passed House Bill 1100, and in 1 year we go from $526 million to $1.1 billion in economic impact, and it's gone up pretty significantly since that time. In 11, 2.4 billion, 12, 3.1, we're at 3.3 now, and it's really not an apples to apples comparison. It's a little bit dry, but we no longer count commercials and music videos in that number for the first time. So even without those productions, which that's a significant amount of money, we're at $3.3 billion. So the other point I'd like to make is that we give this incentive to production companies to come here in the hope that our ancillary services will develop, and the growth in that area has been absolutely astounding. It makes our program demonstrably successful. We give the incentive to Warner Brothers to come here, and boom, all of a sudden we have thousands of Georgians paying their full share of Georgia taxes, supporting that production. They're renting costumes, trucks, props, stage space, all kinds of things, hotel rooms, restaurants, dry cleaning. All these companies are paying Georgia taxes, they're employing Georgians, and this is what makes the incentive so successful, is that we're here to support those companies that we do give the incentive to, and the more of that growth we have, again, the safer our incentive is. Governor Deal is 100% supportive of that incentive, and again, it's hard to argue with the kind of growth that we see here. So thanks to all of you, and we hope fiscal 14 goes up from here. It looks like it will. Thank you very much.
At this point, I'd like to call an end to the meeting. For MCA-I, I want to thank all of you for being here. This is wonderful to have a turnout like this. And for all of us, I want to thank each and every one of you for spending your time here. It has been almost magical. Thank you very much, and I hope we can do this again.